Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making some tender, amazing lemon scones. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 400 degrees. It needs to be nice and hot for this. And now, in a large bowl, I'm adding 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. That's 67 grams. Our scones are gonna be packed with lemon flavor because we're using the zest of 2 lemons, and we're gonna work that into the sugar so all of the lemon oils come out. And there's gonna be a lemon glaze on top that's so delicious and beautiful. I'm using a microplane today, and this is such a handy kitchen tool. Whenever you're zesting citrus, this is the best. And if you wanna have a cloud of Parmesan cheese on top of your pasta, this is what you would use as well. So I highly recommend getting one. If you don't have one, you can try using a really sharp knife to remove just the edge of the skin and then giving it a really good mince. Notice my hand is moving, rotating the lemon as I pull, rotate and pull. One elegant, relaxing, satisfying motion. Now use your clean hands, and we're gonna gather the sugar and really express all the oil out by rubbing. You'll notice your sugar becomes a beautiful, light, sunny lemon color, and it'll have the texture of wet sand from all that oil that you pushed out. My sugar is beautiful and fragrant. Now we're gonna add 2 cups or 240 grams of all-purpose flour. And of course, I'm using a scale again because I wanna have the correct amount. Adding too much flour is gonna give you a dry, bready, and disappointing baked good. You wanna have the bare minimum of flour to hold things together. If you're using measuring cups, never scoop. You're going to sprinkle the flour into your measuring cup and level it off. That'll give you a closer result. To puff things up, I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 1 and 2. 1/2 teaspoon of salt for contrast, and 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. The baking soda will react with the acid from the lemon and give you an extra puff. Grab a scale, grab a whisk. By the way, if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new recipes and shorts every single week. Now we want 1/2 cup or 113 grams of cold butter. I'm gonna cube this up so it's in small pieces. As I cut, I'm gonna pop these in. If you're making these on a hot day, I recommend having your butter straight out of the fridge, or you could even put it in the freezer for a few minutes to really harden up. Now you can use your hands or a pastry cutter to work the butter into the mixture until you have little pieces no bigger than the size of a pea. The butter is gonna melt, steam up, and puff these scones when they bake and give you the most beautiful, tender, buttery texture. In order to do that though, your butter still has to be in somewhat large pieces, so don't overwork the dough until the butter is disappeared into sand. You wanna have some nice chunks here and there. My mixture looks really great. I have small to large pieces of butter hanging here and there, but no giant chunks. We can set this aside and get our wet ingredients together now. Also a good idea to wash your hands. Now in a medium bowl, I'm gonna combine 1/2 cup of buttermilk, 120 mils, and it should be cold. And the buttermilk is a weak acid, and that will react with your baking soda. If you want though, you could definitely use heavy cream. It'll make it a little bit richer, and they're both gonna work. 1 large egg. The egg is our binding agent. It'll help hold things together. And for a depth of flavor, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Give us a whisk so it's nice and combined. Whisk, whisk, whisk. Now, grab your dry mixture, little well, and we're gonna pour the wet into the dry. This gets stirred together until you have a shaggy mixture. It's going to be wet and messy, and that's okay. That's what tells you the scones are gonna be good. If it was the consistency of pizza dough, it'd be horrible. So gently stir with a spatula. Fold the mixture together. Just a little stirring by hand is all you need. Lightly flour your counter, just a sprinkle. We're gonna dump our wet, messy mixture out. This can get folded or kneaded once or twice, just to give it a tiny bit of structure. More flour for my hands. A bench scraper can totally come in handy here to lift the dough off, and maybe you wanna add a little bit more flour on the bottom in case it's super sticky. Time to pat this out into a 7.5 inch or so circle. I don't know how many centimeters that is. You never want to make your scone too thin. It won't have that same buttery texture on the inside and tends to dry out. A little bit of flour for my bench scraper or knife. We're going to slice our disc into 8 wedges. If you're watching this from the UK, you might have many feelings about my pronunciation of scone. 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 And also, what is this? This isn't a scone, because in the UK, a scone really looks more like an American biscuit, except that a scone in the UK is made with egg and tends to have like a more fine consistency. And here, this is a scone, usually cut to triangular shapes and topped with glaze. Again, with your bench scraper, hopefully, you're going to lift these pieces up and transfer them onto a lined rimmed baking sheet. The edge is kind of important here. We don't want to add too much flour, press it together, squish it, or get any liquid on it, because that's what's gonna rise up. I'm gonna place these about 2 inches apart so they have some air circulation in between and they can rise evenly. These are almost ready, but they need a brush of buttermilk on top just to help bring them together. By the way, this doesn't need any chill time, but if you want to make these in the morning and then bake them off later in the day, just cover this up and keep it in the fridge. Or you could also freeze these. I would freeze them flat, then wrap them up or put them in a freezer bag, and then you can bake from frozen, just adding a few extra minutes of bake time. So either make them a few hours ahead of time and just keep it in the fridge chilled, or make them up to 3 months ahead of time and then bake them off as you want. When I brush with buttermilk, I'm not gonna get any buttermilk on the sides, just the top. My lemon scones are ready to go into the oven, 400 degrees, for 20 to 25 minutes or until they're puffed and the tops are golden. Make sure to rotate the pan halfway through. In the meantime, we're gonna make a delicious lemon glaze to finish them off. In you go. My scones are out of the oven and still quite warm, so right now we're gonna make a delicious lemon glaze, which only needs 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. I'm gonna get the lemon juice in the bowl and not my countertop, because lemon juice and marble are not best friends. 1 tablespoon, no seeds please. Half a cup of powdered sugar, and 1 pinch of salt. Grab a whisk and give it a mix until you have a lovely drizzling consistency. If it's too runny, add some more sugar, and if it's too thick, add some more lemon juice. That looks just about right to me. So about those scones for bake time, this was 20 minutes and that is a very beautiful deep golden. This is 16 light golden with a browned bottom. Up to you, it's kind of personal preference. I like both and already ate one of the dark ones, but we're gonna use this one for on camera. Get those scones close together and drizzle over your lemon icing. And just like that, your scones are ready to enjoy. Tender, buttery, melt in your mouth with a nice crisp outside, and this will be perfect with a cup of coffee or tea. I hope you get a chance to make this easy recipe, and if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button and check out my lemon playlist.